Hey guys, SpicySoap back again with another episode of Space Engineers on BetterGamerOfficial. And in today's episode, we are going to go drilling, so it's going to be primarily time-lapse, and maybe if we come across an unknown signal then we'll go and look at that. But for today's episode, we're going to gather a bunch of ice so that then we can stock up on our rocket here, because right now it's not got much fuel in it, and there is no way this is ever going to get us up to the moon. So, what I'm going to do is I am going to take the rover over to the ice lake over that way, and the idea is we're going to get a massive amount of ice, convert it into hydrogen, and then fuel up the rocket. So, without further ado, let's check if this is still connected from last episode. It is. So what we're going to do is disconnect it from the station by hopping in here, stepping forward slightly, and the idea is we're going to take this thing down to the ice lake and get a bunch of ice, and we fuel up the rocket. So let's send us down. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different than average, because the idea is there's not really going to be much unusual content, such as like content where we go and do other things to just time-lapse. It's going to be pretty much just straight up drilling for the whole episode, because the rocket needs fuel, and what I'm thinking is we're coming up on episode 10, and if I'm correct this is episode 8 or 9. What I would like to do is I would like to try and be in space by episode 10. Which is a bit of a goal to push for, but if I can set myself a goal, then I can try and aim for it, and that might help. So, let's just get to the drilling. Okay, so that's the first car full. So let's get this back up to the top of the station and get it put into cargo so that it can all be converted into hydrogen. And then we just need to do that a bunch more times. So now we'll notice that the ice is now leaving this vehicle really fast. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to help it on its journey. So I'm going to basically move it all over here. Now that's out of the way, I can disconnect this car, and then we can park up here, and let's go back down to the ice lake. Well, it looks like I made a bit of a mistake and it's now upside down, which is slightly problematic, if I do say so myself. So what I need to do is I need to fix this, because otherwise we've got a big problem. So, let's see, if I turn this on, what we need to do is we need to hit this button here, turn this one off, sort of push that like that. Uh-oh, looks like we're rolling. That's not good. And it looks like we've finally got the cart back out of the little ditch we got it stuck in. Bit of debris left behind from when we saved it, but we have the car back out. I'm going to do a quick once-over check everything's not damaged, and then we're going to get it back to the station and put another drill on it. Because we lost the drill module in the process. So first things first, I'm out of hydrogen, so I'm gonna go back up to the station myself, get a little bit of hydrogen for my jetpack, and then we're gonna get on with repairing the rover down there. Okay, so it looks like we've got hydrogen now, which means we can use jetpack and take this little frame down. Okay, so we've taken off all of the extra bits, so we can now get this back up onto the station. And then work on it up there, out of the way. Whoa! I forgot that the lift wasn't there, and now we're in another pickle. Cause I can't really lift this thing back over there. I really need to look where I drive, because otherwise we end up in situations like these. So then I have to drop this in here, and then find a new way out by cutting out the frame here. Because I'm not trying any acrobatic maneuvers to get this thing out of here, because there's no way. So, now that we're back at the station, what I'm going to do is empty the cargo. So let's get the back suspensions and lower those. So let's just empty all the ice off this thing, and then we're going to repair the damage. Wait a minute, that's something we should look at. The connector for the rocket is not actually connected, which means that the hydrogen might well just not be getting made. Which I would argue is quite problematic. So let's set this piston to push into the rocket, just really gently. And then we're gonna lock it off as soon as it stops pushing. Okay, so this piston is now touching with the rocket. Let's lock up the gear. Okay, so the rocket's now connected. That should start filling it in theory. There we go, so the hydrogen is starting to fill up on the rocket now. So I'm going to set all of these tanks to stockpile. And this tank is going to empty out. So at this point, on the rocket, we've managed to fill up about 50%-ish. So the rocket is about 56% filled. Meaning that we've not got too much further to go to fill the rocket, actually. Considering how much hydrogen we're actually producing from the amount of ice we've got so far, I would honestly say that we might not even need to go drilling again. But in case, I'm going to rebuild the drill. So that's an easy task. I went through it in the last episode. If you didn't see that, feel free to go back and watch. But all we need to do is get some conveyor junctions, some pistons, and some rotors and a drill. Put those all together, and kablam, we've got a drill. So, let's get the materials. Okay, so we've rebuilt the drill, and honestly it looks better than before. I don't know why, but it fits back on the vehicle, and it's nice and packed away. But what I'm thinking is we should check upon the hydrogen in the ship, which is up to 60%. Check the ice levels, and then from that we're going to judge whether we need to go drilling again. And looking at the amounts of ice that we've got, I would say it would be within order to go drilling again. But, because I don't want to take the car back out, I'm just going to take the drill ship for a quick flight. Because that's fast to get there. So it goes really fast, plus it's just a lot easier than using a car, because there's less chance of there being an accident. Plus if there is, this thing is a lot better at recovering itself. This is not ideal. But the damage is a lot less than I thought it would be. Meaning that I can still fly this thing a little bit. So I'm gonna get this thing parked up, and then we're gonna focus a lot on recovery. Because this is big damage. This is not good. Well, for the most part it looks like we put the ship back together. Maybe not in the way it was built, but this still works. So I can lift this thing up and I can still drill with it. So everything will trigger again. I can still mine like this. I'm looking at the damage to the vehicle, and I have actually just noticed the connector is missing, meaning we can't park this thing back up. So I'm going to have to put one of those back on here, but I know where I can put one under here. So, let's go and look at what's left of the rubble over here. Bit of thruster, which is interesting. So let's pick all this up. And the idea is I'm just gonna fly this back to base, see what's up with the vehicle, see if it can still work properly. And if it still works properly, then there's not much point in trying to mess about with it, trying to get stuff to fit back together. Because what we can do with a vehicle if it's broken is we can literally just recycle the bits of it that fell off. But looking at this, it genuinely doesn't look that badly damaged. So, I'm going to fly this thing back to base, put a new connector on it, dock it up, and then we're probably going to call it an episode for today. Okay, so that's the connector put back on it. It looks a lot different to before, but it still serves the same purpose, so I'm going to leave it be. And so far, we're up to scratch in terms of hydrogen. Because if I look at the hydrogen tanks on the rocket, we are so far up to about 65%. So, over the next couple episodes, we're going to make some sort of way of getting a bunch of ice. But yeah, this episode's been pretty decent, apart from the 2 crashes that we've had. This rocket is a lot closer to being able to lift off, and yeah, it's gone pretty well. But that's gonna have to be it for this episode. My name's SpicySoap, and I'm out.